Welcome to iHeart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of iHeart Geek. Yeah, we had an issue with so much issue. I guess it had a tissue. No, we're doing two episodes in a row. I did not think that through at all, and I really should have. I apologize. Sorry, audience. You guys are awesome. Thank you for forgiving me.
We love Dub, but he's weird.
It just gives them a second opportunity to visit this awesome topic.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't like it, skip 2.
Gives them something to look forward to in the coming weeks.
There you go.
I don't think that there are people out there that don't like us. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
You haven't been to the iHeart Geek hate group?
Oh, is there one of those? How do I join?
Well, Blythe has to add you since it's his group. So.
I'm the main moderator. Mostly just memes of Dub doing weird stuff.
Yeah. There's a few former
and the occasional I hate the Goonies post.
Yep.
Okay,
send me an invite.
We are doing episode 2 of The Future of Geek. So just to catch everybody up real quick, last time we covered comic books, movies, and the Oculus. Today we're going to be shooting for movies, TV, books, audio, music, and other. So yeah, we're going to kind of fly by our early stuff. I do have to announce that Hal, it looks like, has a voice now. Hal 2.0 will be on his way, hopefully not too long after this airs. Hopefully. Does that sound like it's doable there, Blythe?
Yeah, I hope so.
His voice is almost there. I'm really, really excited about it. And along with hopefully a whole friends circle with Hal.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later because there's some really cool stuff going on.
This is news to me, but that's cool.
New website
well, this is me and Blythe's because of my work. So I'm Dub, and I did not write this. Actually, no one wrote this.
We're flying by the seat of our pants here, folks.
That a little bit.
If we're wearing pants.
Yeah.
We leave that up to you to figure out.
I'm not telling you, but you can guess. Okay. And now I'm going to vomit. Okay, and below me, we have Miss Geeky Paige. How are you?
I'm good, and I am wearing pants. Maybe.
Darn it.
Were we supposed to wear pants?
It's a Zoom meeting. I think it's like 50-50. It's whatever you feel like.
It's fitty-fitty?
Fitty-fitty.
Fitty-fitty. So anything new?
Sometimes I'm still in my pajamas when I do conference calls during the workday. My coworkers have no idea that I'm just sitting here chilling in my PJ.
And who cares?
Right, they can't see me. What does it matter?
Exactly.
You just got to get from here up. Actually,
we don't do
from here up.
We don't do video conferencing.
Oh,
conference calls at work.
That's the worst. We do conference calls at work, and I hate when people don't do video.
You can literally wear dragon onesies, and no one would know.
Right.
Very nice.
I do notice you have a new mic there. Let's see it.
Ready? I'm going to hold it up.
Okay. Ooh.
Wow.
She's all high tech now.
Yeah.
That's some fancy schmancy.
Well, I kept listening to myself on the other ones, and I always sounded terrible, and I didn't want to make you guys have to listen to me sound terrible and Dub have to work too hard to make me not sound terrible, so I invested in a new microphone.
Everybody's ultra talented on the show, so I don't have to worry about working too much to make anybody sound good. That's my thank you for being on the show, guys. Okay, and then we have Mr. Blythe. How are you doing? What's new, sir?
Doing pretty good. Not too much new. Just staying in the house all the time with this brand new baby. I mean, he's not that new anymore.
He's not really squeaky anymore.
2 months now. He's getting up. He's got his own personality now. We talked about it a little bit last show. He's just a person.
I'm a little bummed because by the time I'm finally going to be able to see him, my anti-pinching is not going to be needed anymore.
Yeah, because he'll be 13.
Right, like he'll be 7.
Don't touch me.
He'll be going to college.
Right.
Who are you?
So did you say he's starting to try to sit up, or can he sit up yet?
He can
18
sit
of
up.
them. 18
if
sit-ups.
if I like hold my hand like on his back a little bit, he
Oh,
can
very
sit
good.
up and he kind of like
Nice.
weeble
He's
wobbles
got
around.
strong neck is strong, and he could hold his neck
He's a
steady.
weeble
And all. It's
wobble.
very
Mhm.
good. Awesome.
That
Yeah,
helping
he's
your
doing-
kid. That sounds like a participation ribbon parent. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think 2 people got the joke. Awesome. Okay.
There's
Mr.
only
P-
4 of us in the room.
I know. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
Mr. PB, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm always the last to know about things like Hal's voice and this whole thing about pants, and so I'm
Oh,
good.
I think you were the first one to know about pants. Don't even lie.
No, the thing is, he didn't know he could get away without it.
Oh, okay.
That was the thing.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a thing, so I never mind.
He's just glad that he switched out of the leather chair. I'm just saying.
It's a very comfortable chair. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, man.
Sorry,
I'm dude. That's nothing compared to what I've done to chairs and
No.
Family
Um,
show.
So that's what this show is about. PB's history with chairs.
PB's history with chairs, territory marking.
Ah,
Yeah, no, man,
Lord.
I'm good. I'm as good as I was, way back when we did our last show on this topic. And yeah, so it's all good, man. I'm just doing my thing with kids, and school's going to start, and I get to be homeschooled dad, and yeah, awesome. I just
Awesome.
can't wait. It's gonna be
Professor
freaking
PB.
fantastic.
Professor PB.
Okay, so we have no listener feedback this week since we did it all last week. We never improv the hey, we're gonna do 2 shows, but we just had so much info on this one. Last thing before we start, let's talk about all the stuff that you can help us out and help yourself out there, Blythe.
Alrighty, so we have 3 support channels now. 3 now. We had 2. Now we have a 3rd one. We mentioned it in the last show, but we have our Redbubble, where you can still pick up all the items with your favorite HAL logo on them. We have the Amazon affiliate link, where you can just click down below, do your normal Amazon shopping, and we get a kickback. And we have our brand new and sparkly Patreon page, where you can support us by donating a $3 increment, $5, $10, or $20 increment. And you get to do cool things like be a part of the show, be a what Dub likes to call writer of the show, and give us topics that we can throw into our normal rotation. Your name will show up on this beautiful screen right here, so that all of our Geek Rock stars will see how amazing you are. Or if you just want to chuck us a few bucks just because you love us, we'll also take that as well. So just know that everything
we're hungry. We're really hungry.
Unfortunately, none of it will go to food. It all goes back to the
I
show.
know.
But all
I'm
go
joking.
back to
No,
the
it
show.
goes back to the show. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
100% of everything goes back to the show. I do think on the last show, which I will reiterate in this show, if you do join that $20 tier, I will send you a box of donuts. So
Box
that is
of
still on
donuts.
the table.
He's got donuts, so
But what if it's like one of our listeners that are in England or India?
I'll figure it out.
Send him a box of crumpets
Like
or a box of naan bread.
Jeff Goldblum always says, donuts find a way.
Oh,
Right.
Great
We'll send you-
paraphrase.
if it's one of our friends in India, then we will find a place that
We
will
have
deliver
three, by the
you
way.
ladus.
We
We
do
will
have
find a
three.
place that will deliver you ladus.
There you
What
go.
is that?
It's like Indian donuts.
Oh, okay.
They're good.
Before we
Mm-hmm.
start, I have a question for everybody just to kind of break up the monotony of it all. What is your favorite quarantine food that you are still eating? Let's start with you, Courtney, because you look so guilty. Is it a steak?
No, I don't eat meat anymore.
I
Don't
know,
eat
I was
meat.
just saying. I know.
I don't eat meat anymore.
That makes me sad.
I have been eating tomato sandwiches.
What is a tomato sandwich exactly?
It's literally
Ketchup
bread.
and
Don't
bread?
describe it. Don't describe it.
No,
I don't
it's
wanna-
bread with a little bit of mayo. I put a little everything bagel seasoning on the mayo and then sliced tomatoes.
Trader Joe's everything bagel seasoning.
We.
Yep.
I want to
That's
just
the
throw this out
best.
there right real quick, Courtney, because when I worked at In-N-Out for a short time, we had this guy that would come in and order that. He would order a grilled cheese with 4 slices of tomato on it.
No, I don't even put. Sometimes I'll put cheese on it.
Yeah, that's just how he would.
Sometimes
order
I'll
it
put.
at In-N-Out.
Sometimes I'll put vegetarian lunch meat on it, but mostly it's just bread, mayo, and tomatoes.
What kind of bread?
Depends on what I've got. I'm a huge baker, as everybody knows, so sometimes it's stuff that I've made. Sometimes it's like store-bought rye, because I still haven't figured out how to make rye that doesn't look like a brick. I'm gonna try I'm gonna try to make sourdough bread this week.
Oh, you're gonna
that
share.
sounds like a sandwich.
I'll be your test taster.
I
if you-
Absolutely.
Sourdough.
I'm gonna give it a try. If it's good, I'll share it. If it's not, we'll just pretend it's a hockey puck and we'll move on.
Even
But
if
I'm
I
gonna
make
try
a
to.
delicious steak sandwich out of it.
Yes, I'm gonna make you do whatever you want with it, and I'm actually gonna make focaccia bread for my mom and I tomorrow.
Isn't that with the cheese on it?
You can put cheese on it.
Okay.
It's basically just another
Olive oil.
Italian bread. Yeah, I mean,
Olive
it's
oil,
just it's a thin. It usually doesn't get any higher than this, and you usually cook it in a big long pan, and you can make pizza out of it.
Mhm.
You can just eat it.
Nice.
You can make sandwiches out of it. It's just an Italian bread. It's not like ciabatta, which has more aeration in it,
Mm-hmm.
which is more like a sourdough. It's a thinner sandwich.
We're gonna do a cooking show with you one of these days. I swear.
Once I get good at it, and we just kind of veered off. So sorry, listeners.
I know I haven't eaten yet today, so all this bread sounds freaking.
I know I'm hungry. So after this, I'm gonna make a tomato sandwich.
What about you, PB?
Oh, it's. I guess I'll divulge it. Okay, so recently I've actually tried to start getting back on a better track because I have definitely gained a few freaking pounds during this quarantine. But during the first 2 weeks, remember when it was 2 weeks, we were going to be closed for 2 weeks and everything was going to be back to normal. Yeah, that was a free for all. It was party time, man.
Everybody did that.
and I got it. And then when it became a month, the party continued. And when it was 2 months, the 2 weeks became 2 months of like. Okay, so the thing that I ate, it was horrible. God, it was just terrible. It was it was jalapeno Fritos with easy cheese. Oh my God.
I'm not liking anyone's decision on this.
I got addicted to that and it was terrible. It was awful. I'm ashamed of myself. I feel dirty just for like admitting that I did that, but I got addicted.
You judged my tomato sandwich.
I would rather have. I don't like anything on your tomato sandwich. I'd rather have that.
I said nothing about your tomato sandwich. I thought it sounded interesting. If the tomatoes are cooked, I'd be all for it. If they're raw, maybe not. But,
toast the bread, PB. Toast the bread.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
Trust me on it.
Yeah, well, you're a baker. I'm a concoctor. I do some cooking. No, like I can make a few dishes, but no, this was just horrible, and I got addicted to it, and then I had to go through a withdrawal, and I had to wean down, and then I've stopped. I'm not doing that anymore because that was awful. It was just awful.
It's the easy cheese, really.
I know I did. It's horrible, but I did it for 2 months. At least it wasn't Cheese Whiz, which would have been worse.
Too easy.
Okay.
Are you talking like easy cheese in the can that you spray?
Yes.
Okay, I know.
You know how Fritos have the natural little curves? You make little jalapeno Frito tacos, dude. It was awesome.
Lies, can you?
But it was also terrible.
Tell me something good that you're having for this quarantine.
So I guess I've been doing just a crap ton of snacking too. But I think the one that we constantly get is, I don't know if you guys know what Takis are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Takis.
Aren't they like Doritos?
It's not Takis. So they're corn chips that have
hot Fritos.
They're hot, yeah. But
okay,
they're rolled up.
The same brand makes a kettle cooked chip that has the same like spiciness with lime on it, and those are fantastic. And we eat the crap.
Are they
like 3 or 4
Are they
bags.
rolled up or are they flat?
No, they're like just kettle cooked chips. Like if you've ever gotten like the hard, like crunchy kettle cooked chips, they're just like that. And they, but yeah, those are my kryptonite right now. I could eat a bag of those and slug down like 4 sodas in a sitting.
Yeah, if Dub's going to come back with some healthy BS, but that's fine.
Okay, I'll tell you mine. I do a tortilla, and then I roll in lettuce and turkey and a little bit of cheese and roll it up and heat it up, and it's delicious. It's fast and it's yummy. So yeah.
No, I've done things like that, roll
It's
ups.
just
Yeah, I've done
simple
those.
food.
Yeah,
I like
come on.
simple. Sorry. If you anybody that's eaten with me, I eat my burgers plain. I am the most boring eater on the planet.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Hey, I figure I save calories that way, right? So I can just eat more. Okay, so let's get on to this topic at hand. Let's see. So we've discussed the future of geek as far as the Oculus and comic books. And what else did we get? Did we get a little of books?
Did we do movies?
Little
Yeah,
bit
we
of
did,
books.
we did
Yeah.
a little, we ended on a book
Books.
talk.
We
Just-
ended
yeah.
on books. Okay, so let's go on. Let's move on to movies first. Your future, what is going on for movies? I think, as I say, for the next year, we're not going to have anything new that's going to come out because nothing will have the chance to get made. A minimum of a year after this ends, we will not have a new movie. I think that we are going to have I think that we're going to return to the story-driven independent and the animated. I think that's what we are going to see, and this makes me happy. Jason, you had something that you kept one.
Well, no, you finish your point, but then please pass
that
it
was
to
it.
me.
Go for it.
Okay. I slightly disagree with the movies thing about yes. Okay, you say we're not going to have new movies for a year. I disagree. I think that with what they're going to do and what we've already kind of seen it with what they're going to do with Mulan, right? Isn't it Mulan that they're going to
That was
put on
already
Disney
made.
Plus?
It's already done.
And then they're going to put a premium. They're going to attach a premium price, and I know people are like losing their mind about that.
It's expensive.
But what people are not thinking is that
It's
they still
$30.
had to do the production costs. They still had to pay the crew and the actors and all that. Now, what they don't have to do to the same level is the advertising budget, because it'll go right to Disney Plus. It'll be built into the thing that is Disney Plus that everybody knows about. So they don't have to recoup quite as much money as they did just for the production and such. But I understand that that's why they're doing the premium, and that's going to be the future of movies. They're going to return to making them, and then they're going to release them on streaming services with a premium.
Oh, I think that the movie theater is dead. And I do agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the streaming. However, you're forgetting the one important part of there are no movies being made right now.
That's actually not true.
Right.
That's actually not true. There are some productions companies that have actually started up again. A lot of films are being shot in Canada. Canada does not have the same situation that we have.
Right.
So any film production crew, cast, or whatnot that comes into Canada to shoot has to self-quarantine for 14 days, and then they're allowed to go on set.
And that's
so there
what
are
they're gonna do.
actually films being made right now.
They're going to go to Canada. They're going to go to New Zealand. They're going to go to any place.
Lord of the Rings 7.
Where they're going to go anywhere where the virus is not going nuts. And
you just have to self-quarantine
for the 14 days.
Yeah. What I think we're going to see is kind of along the lines of what you're saying, Deb, with going to animation and smaller story-driven. I'm not necessarily sure they're going to all be indie, but I think we're going to start seeing less spectacle. And we're going to see films that have smaller casts, because the way that you have to conduct yourself on set is completely different than it was before. You could have 14 PAs before. You can't have that many now, because you can only have a certain amount of people in a room together if you're filming on a sound stage. We're not going to see these gigantic casts and gigantic, like baseball films. We're not going to see stadiums anymore, at least not for a while. So I think we're going to see a lot of smaller thematically driven stuff. I think we're going to see more biopics. I think we're going to see things of that nature where you can have two people in a scene together, and you only need like 10 to run the camera and the sound and the boom and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're just going to see smaller stuff. I think we may actually see a resurgence of the drive-in. to be honest. I don't
hope
think
so.
the movie theater's dead. I think it'll live. I think it'll take a while to get back to where it needs to be in the terms of a theater as we know it. But I think we're going to see a resurgence of the drive-in.
I think you're right, but I think that we have definitely the writing's on the wall. AMC is, I guess, like a week from bankruptcy at any point.
Well, they're
huge.
Well,
AMC's owned by Disney, so I don't think they're. I think all movie theaters are struggling right now, but even AMC already made a deal with Universal because Universal was going to say that they were just going to start releasing all their videos straight to video on demand. And AMC said, if you do that, we're boycotting your movies. We were not going to let any of your movies into our theaters. So the deal that they came up with was if a Universal movie is released to AMC, it can run for 14 days, and then Universal can put that on video on demand. And if they do it within a certain time frame, they give 10% of those profits from the video on demand to AMC. So Universal felt that AMC was necessary enough for them to give 10% of their video on demand profits to.
Yeah.
So I don't think the theater is going to be dead. I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think it's going to be a combination of movies going a lot faster onto the streaming services, but theaters will be more reserved for the event movies. So your Infinity Wars, your Endgames, the ones where people go to be part of a crowd. Now, when I see a movie like that, I go see it opening weekend because I want to be in that crowd where people are going nuts the entire time. And I think that's going to be a huge thing for movie theaters.
That may come, but I think that's still too far out, and the studios aren't going to wait that long. I still think it's going to go the path of the Mulans, where you will pay the premium for the big thing. And also, Dub, the bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean that they're done. Bankruptcy could be a restructuring. Yeah, exactly.
I find it very interesting that kicking back to Mulan really quickly is Disney made the decision. It's not just going on the streaming service. That's the misconception, is it's going into select theaters as well as the streaming service. Yeah. So you'll still have the capability to go see it in the movie theater if you want to. But some people want to. But I find it very.
Was that in the U.S. though, or was that?
It's in the Deadline Hollywood article that I posted on our Facebook group. You can see that it's going to be now. It's not going to be in select, so we may not get it because sometimes when they do select theaters, Las Vegas doesn't get it.
Well,
but there may be one or two in LA. Yeah, and I mean, what I find interesting, just kind of to piggyback in that, is that Warner Brothers has still said that Wonder Woman will go into the movie theaters. There's no possibility, as of right now, that it's going into streaming first.
I mean, I think
they've made the decision that that's going to go into the movie theater.
That's them trying to hope that this thing kind of slows down enough because they can want to release into theaters. October. They can want to release into theaters all they want, but if theaters aren't open, then there's nothing to release it to.
Yeah. So sorry, PB. Didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to shoot that in there real fast.
I mean, there's a good chance that Wonder Woman could end up on HBO Max because of where the DC stuff is.
Well, and in terms of that, to be honest,
Netflix.
I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. We all know this to be. I'm not going to the theater to see this movie. Not right now.
Exactly. And you are not alone in that thought.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like the most diehard Wonder Woman. I'm so excited about Wonder Woman 2 for how long, guys?
Right.
So until things get better, I won't go in there.
I think we've got at least 2 years of no real theater action, to be completely honest. I'd love it to be.
I don't know about that.
I'd love it to be less than that. I really would love that. But I've made some predictions during this virus, and they have all come true. And so I think that my record so far is pretty good. We'll see.
But I think that even before this happened, I think theaters have been their own worst enemy. If you're not at the theater for the event movie the first week, what's the point? You're sitting with people you don't know. They're probably going to make noise where you don't want them to make noise. There's no communal feeling. And you're paying freaking $15 a seat when you can buy the DVD for $15, $20 and have it forever.
Yeah.
Or stream it for $20.
And I think that's what the
and you have
big
it forever.
problem with the price tag for the Mulan is. That's for a rental.
Yeah, no, I won't get it.
The $29.99 that they're asking, in addition to what you pay for Disney Plus,
Mhm.
is the rental fee. Like, there was a new movie that Tom Hardy had out where he played Al Capone.
Yeah.
I won't rent it because it's $10.
Yeah, I won't pay
Yeah,
for a rental.
that's where it's going though, because again, they don't have to recoup the same level of advertising costs, but they still are going to try to recoup the
Yeah,
production
they still got to
costs
make money. It's
of
still a
anything
business.
they
But
make.
if you did it for $20, it's the
Which I'm
same.
fine.
And then and I don't mind paying $20. I don't mind paying $25 if it's first run, or even $30, but you get to keep it. I don't like that one time. That's, to me, is taking advantage of people, and that's what got them into a lot of the mess they're in the first place.
I mean,
I think
I'll-
though. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, okay. I'll be honest. When I would take I miss movies in the theater. That was one of the biggest bummers of this summer for me. Was especially my son. My son's like, no Godzilla, King Kong, and that was going to be one of the big things for him. And it's like, we had a ritual with the snacks and then lunch afterwards, because we go to the matinees usually. But a movie trip with my kids and me and my wife, that's $100, at least. And it's going to be a lot cheaper for us to see movies, even with the $30, tag on it.
And that works for you, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm one person.
Yeah.
And
I get it. It would be less.
It would work if I was to rent the Mulan, and then everyone in my family, because I let my family use my Disney Plus.
Don't say that out loud.
I know, that's why I don't want to say that, because I'm like, Disney's gonna sue me. But I know, if you rent something in, say, Vudu, I don't know how many people use Vudu, but it's the same kind of service. You rent something in Vudu, you can share your Vudu account connects to 6 family members. So we share it across our family. But if I rent something in Vudu, nobody else in my family can see it. I'm the only one that can, because I'm the one that did the rental. And so, it'd be the same thing for Disney Plus. If I rent Mulan for $30, I want the nieces to be able to see it.
Which I think
want
with
my
Disney
mom to be able to see it.
With Disney Plus, they'll be able to, because what you're describing through Vudu is a created plan by them, right? You can share it with 6 different family members, so they're giving you the opportunity to share it with those 6 different family members.
I think they'll let you play it on one screen and one screen only.
I think one profile is probably going to be able to have it, because with Disney Plus you create multiple profiles. So I have a profile, the girls have a profile,
but the profiles are to be. See, I think what it is the profiles are meant to be within a single home for a single family,
which is what we have in my family, Disney.
But I don't know what he's talking about. Going to put that kind of stipulations on the Mulan. I think once you rent Mulan, it'll be available for that account for the full 24 hours or how long that you have.
However long.
So
if I'm spending $30 for it, better get it more for 48-hour rental.
Yeah.
Because I better be able to watch that at least 10 times.
I mean, that system currently isn't much different than what Amazon Prime does now.
Yeah.
It's just Amazon Prime does it for considerably cheaper if you rent a movie. This bump in cost is for production cost recoup.
Yeah.
No, that's for great.
It's where we're going.
I think it's partly that. I think it's also partly trying to recoup the losses from the closed theme park.
Yeah.
Well, to PB's point,
hey, pass it on to us. Thanks, Disney.
To PB's point too, I think someone on our Facebook group said this as well. The $30 price point is more. It's because they know that families are going to be watching.
I think it was
this movie.
Mickey who said that. Yeah,
it's not a single. It's not driven towards the single person. It's driven towards the family, because if you look at the numbers from when this began. I think it was Trolls World Tour and Sonic both did numbers that exceeded their theatrical run estimates, because parents are renting these movies for their kids because they need content for their kids because their kids can't do anything but sit inside and watch movies. So parents are going to pay this $30 premium because most kids will watch a freaking movie until nauseum.
Oh yeah,
Right.
But
And let's
they're-
also
the
be
parents not going
let's
to pay
also,
for it twice.
Frozen.
let's also be fair to
They
Disney,
do
too,
pay for it
because-
twice though, Dub.
$30.
I know
You're going to pay $60.
I'm not going to do it, but a parent who Trolls World Tour was $20 rent video on demand. That was parents paying multiple days of that $20 because their kids wanted to watch it over and over and
I
over.
wish I won
Yeah,
the
parents
lottery
will do
too.
Well, it's like what
Um,
PB said. Like, how many in your family, PB? You got 5?
3
6?
kids and my wife, 5 of
So
them.
there's 5 of you. So that's 2 adult tickets at
Mhm.
$15 apiece. So that's $30 right there. He hasn't even started paying for the kids yet.
Right.
Mhm.
So
And
it's like,
those are $8, $9 a piece. Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're saving money
they're-
on that premium.
But they're also, you don't get that ultra huge screen and that ultra. I mean, and most of us have it, to be fair.
Well, I
but
had a
it's different.
54-inch TV.
But it's
It
different.
works.
the really good
With a sound
popcorn.
bar and good popcorn. But the other thing about Disney, to be fair to them, I mean, as much as they're going to do this, they also gave us Hamilton, and that was nice to them.
And they
And they-
gave us Frozen 2.
And they gave us Rose 2, and they gave us
People
Artemis
forget
Fowl.
that.
They gave us Artemis Fowl,
Mhm.
you know, which
Yeah.
actually was pretty good for Artemis Fowl. They are still
wanted to
going to,
like it.
give. It was decent. I mean, it wasn't
I was
bad.
bored.
They're still going to.
Yeah.
They're still going
I
to
haven't
give
seen that.
things. They're still going to give things.
Yeah, I mean, we got at the
They're
beginning of the
blockbusters.
pandemic. At the beginning of pandemic, we got Frozen 2
Mhm.
completely for free.
Hmm.
They didn't make people rent it. They said here because, and they literally put a sign out that said here, you guys can have this because everybody's struggling. And I immediately called Denise because I'm like, want to watch Frozen 2?
Hmm.
And so, and then they did the same thing with Hamilton. They were supposed to release that in the movie theater, but instead of making us pay for it, or instead of making us wait, they said,
We
you
are
know what,
paying
here,
for
just have
it.
it. Just have it.
We
Yes,
are
but
all
like-
paying for it.
But not paying an additional. I mean, not,
Right.
you know, instead of making us pay for it in the
Mhm.
movie theater or do like what they're doing with Mulan, they just said, here, just have it.
But they do
So-
need to have content because otherwise everyone's watched everything on Disney Plus already. Everyone's watched everything on Netflix already. They have to get the new content.
Here's the
So
thing.
you're not doing me a favor by putting this on. You're doing yourself a favor by
Speaking of that really quickly, I got a message from my mom last night going, so is everything free? We can watch everything free on Disney. We're at Plus, right? I said, yeah, for right now. I said, but Mulan won't be. She's like, okay. She goes, can I watch Mandalorian? And I'm like, yeah, it's part of the thing. She goes, okay, I'm going to watch Mandalorian. All right. Have fun,
All
Mom.
right, bye.
Okay, so let's talk Mandalorian. This is we're going to move on to TV
Ah,
now.
It's not
Ma-
Mandalorian.
Baby
Mandalorian
Yoda.
is the
Ugh.
future of TV
Yes.
to an extent. I think that they're getting smarter by not giving us bingey stuff and letting us you wait by the week. I think it's important.
You're gonna get both, but yes,
You're going
I
to get
agree.
both, but I think that's where we're
Yeah.
going. I think that any network that puts out, if they can, like you were talking about with the Canada thing, I don't think we're going to have the 14, 16 episode shows anymore. I think we're going to go with going back to the 80s when they have 24 episodes in a
I
season.
don't even know. I think we're
Because
going to get
that
a
way
bunch
it's
of
just
short
done,
stuff.
done. Because if you're quarantined anyway, you have nothing to do but work.
The other thing that's going to happen. The other thing that's going to happen is the budgets for these shows, and it's good. The precedent is going to be set by the Amazon Lord of the Rings show when that one comes out, because that's so far I've read that's going to be the most expensive show made so far in a TV series. If that ends up being just off the charts good, they're going to increase the budgets for these shows, because if I have one criticism now of certain things, like an example would be The Watchmen on HBO, which I thought was a really well done show, except for how they handled Dr. Manhattan, which was like the absolute cheapest special effects, and it's like, if you want to see Dr. Manhattan, you want to be blown away by Dr. Manhattan. And Dr. Manhattan on HBO, no spoilers, but Dr. Manhattan on HBO basically looked like a dude in a blue suit, and that's like, okay, that's cool. But the budgets for these shows, because they're going to be just craved by people. The budget for these shows is going to go way up, I think.
I can
I don't know
agree,
about that,
but
though.
I think it's got to be a percentage. I think that as far as that kind of show, the epic show, I think that we're going to get probably 20%, and I think we are going to see the resurgence of the sitcom because they're cheap. They can do a lot of them, and you're having content constantly.
And
I was mainly
you
only
only
talking
need-
about Epic TV, but yes, you're right.
You
Probably.
really only need one camera for a sitcom.
Right.
You're usually a
Two, I
single.
think, isn't
Sitcoms are usually single cameras, which means you stay in the same one multi-room set,
Mhm.
which
Right.
helps budget. But one thing, on the other end of that, as somebody who hasn't been watching any of those epic TV shows, I've been watching more of the quieter stuff. One of the most popular shows this summer thus far has been Perry Mason.
Mm-hmm.
And it is 8 episodes. The final episode is tomorrow. It's got a small budget. It's got a small cast. Yes, it's set in 1931 Los Angeles, so there's a lot of budget for costuming, and there's a lot of budgeting for set pieces, and then there's also there's a lot of computer generation to make it look like Los Angeles in 1931. Like we had to recreate the entire Angel's Flight, which doesn't exist anymore. But it's only 7 or 8. I think it's 7 episodes. It's already got a second season commitment.
Well, that's a one season. I guarantee the second season we're going to see that bumped. I think they.
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends.
Content.
I think it
people don't have anything
depends
to do.
on. I think we're actually going to see. I would argue with you in terms of episode commitment. I think we're going to see a lot more limited run season stuff because that's what a lot of people are writing too.
Yeah, and I also think that coordinates a little bit with production cost. I think that because I think you'd be surprised. I bet Perry Mason's budget is not small. If you're talking about that CGI and to recreate.
In terms of, say, compared maybe to Watchmen, I would say it's got a smaller budget.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to actually see.
Well, because a lot of it, the only time you need the CGI is when you're outside, and they do a lot of stuff filmed inside, in houses, and in the courtroom, and a lot of stuff happens on his farm. Because it's an origin story. It's brilliant. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's on HBO. It's absolutely brilliant. But they're also doing it the same way, like Dub said, where it's not. They didn't release all 7 episodes at one time. You have to wait every week, and I kid you not, I haven't felt this kind of anticipation for a show that I'm willing to wait and not binge. And when I would watch Game of Thrones, I may wait 2-3 weeks before I would sit down to watch 2-3 episodes at a time instead of that
torture.
weekly commitment. Yeah, this one I sit down and I watch every week because it is that good. And I think we might see a little bit more of that happening as well.
Yeah, I remember Mandalorian. I was like, the next one. Yeah,
the second that came on, I was there.
I hadn't had that feeling on TV for a long time, so yeah, it was great. Yeah,
I think we're going to see some of that. So I think we're going to see a lot of what Deb was talking about, but we're also going to see some of what PB is talking about. I think we're going to see, but I think in general, we're going to see more content, but it's going to be in terms of here's a show that's 10 episodes, but you got to do it one at a time.
Yeah, and that's replacement
here's
for
another
movies.
show. Yeah, here's another show that's 8 episodes. Here's one that's 6 episodes. I don't think we're going to see any more of these 20, 25
right.
episode shows. As good as they were, like West Wing was 25 episodes at a season. They're just those kinds of commitments for shows aren't being made anymore.
I think as far as the sitcom goes, that's where we're going back to. You go watch the old Family Ties. There's 24 episodes in a season.
Yeah, I think we'll see more.
Because that way they're in that place. They can boom it all out, and they're saving money, and people aren't going to have to quarantine again until next year.
Give it over to Blythe, man. He's the one who hasn't said anything on this one yet.
Yeah, sorry, Blythe.
So I think that this was already happening well before the quarantine. I think we were already headed towards higher production shows. I agree with Courtney. I don't think that we're going in the direction of 24 episode shows. I think we're sticking anywhere between 8 and 10 because shows are better with only 8 to 10 episodes. When you try and put in a good example of this was the Marvel Netflix shows. When you try to fit 12 to 15 episodes into what could only be an 8 episode season, there's too much room for just slogging through these shows. And I think that once a week definitely is going to start coming back because it builds anticipation. It gets people talking about the shows. They learned that with Game of Thrones when everyone was when that was the only thing people were talking about was Game of Thrones every single week until the next one came out. So they know the buildup is there if you go one at a time. And I think the stories are just, people are going to enjoy them, and they're going to be better stories if it's a shorter episode count as opposed to it being a high episode count, because you're just fishing for content at that point, especially when it's like well-known IPs.
Fair enough. Yeah. See, I don't think that we're disagreeing as far as the epic shows go, as far as the content, because I think that when those go too long, it's too expensive and too convoluted, and you get lost. I'm referring to more the sitcom, which I think is going to come back in a big way. But I think that also that the epic drama is coming back as well. But I don't think they're going to be the long.
I think the
series on that.
sitcom. I feel like the sitcom died with Big Bang Theory. I feel like there's too much content on things like Netflix and Hulu for a sitcom to really come back in a big way. People aren't caught up on what's out now, but that doesn't mean you can't keep producing new content towards those. So like Umbrella Academy just came out, and that's
so good.
That's what I'm saying. The first thing you say is that it's so good. The Boys season 2 looks fantastic. Like
Boys season
pretty
1.
soon.
Boys season 1 was awesome.
Yeah, so there's just so much content out there that I think if you try and make it, and maybe that's part of it too, is that there's so much content and it feels like it's coming out a lot. Like there's something new every week that's coming out, that if you try and release something that's 24 episodes long, something new comes out in the middle of that, and then nobody's watching whatever that 24 episode arc is anymore.
I think with sitcoms, though, I will agree with Dove in the terms that they can have longer episodes, because when it comes to sitcoms, it's not technically a story-driven show. I mean, like let's look at The Simpsons. Let's look at Big Bang Theory.
Seinfeld.
Each show, while there is an overreaching arc, which is like in Big Bang, it's the story of these people and their journey through life. Each episode can be treated as an individual thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas with like Game of Thrones or The Boys or Umbrella Academy or Perry Mason, you can't jump into a season halfway through and know what's going on. You have to start at the beginning of the season. It's easier to do that with sitcoms. You can jump into any Simpsons episode or any Friends episode or any Seinfeld episode, and you're not completely lost as to what's going on, because each episode does not hinge on the one before it. So sitcoms, in that terms, could have a resurgence because it's not story driven. It's
and
people.
It's easier for the writers.
I think though the sitcom is going to move toward animation more so as it already has with some.
I think we will see more animation as well, more animated stuff. One, it's a lot safer for the people involved because you've got the animators working on it, and the actors don't have to be in the same room with each other.
And they're already in a booth that's got glass.
You can keep, I mean, I have a friend I have friends who do voiceover work, and they do it in their pajamas in their closets.
The last 10 episodes or something of My Hero Academia, all the voice actors who did the voice dubbing did everything from home.
Yeah,
it took them an extra week to make, but it still could be done, and they did it.
Right. And so I think we're going to see an upsurgence in animated stuff just because, for sheer safety.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're easy to produce in a situation where you can have a gigantic cast in an animation where you
Yeah.
can't have it in live action. You can have 50 people on screen in an animation.
And
You
I think
can't
you'll see,
have
and
50 people on screen right now.
I think you'll see sitcoms. You'll see more Big Mouths. You'll see Family Guy. You know, again, you'll see those sorts of sitcoms. I agree.
Okay, so let's move on to one of my favorite topics, which would be the world of audio, music, so on and so forth. What did you think I was going to say something different there, Blythe? No, this one, I think that as far as money goes, life sucks for musicians right now. Creatively,
actors too.
Creatively, I think we're at a better spot than we've been since the Beatles. People have full studios at their fingertips now. There's nothing you can't do musically, and you can find an audience for anything. I think that everything is digital now. I miss, more than anything else, vinyl has somewhat of a resurgence. I miss the big vinyl covers and all that. But in general, you have digital, and it's cheap. Instead of having to pay $2 a disc, and you have to eat that in your costs along with everything else. Oh, I can just click. Okay, we're done. It doesn't cost you anything. A couple of cents. So I think we're at a good place for music. I think that the future. I think we're going along where we are now is where we're going to keep going. And I think, and I think that vinyl may have some resurgence, but none of the other things will. Okay, so what do you guys think on that? I just gave you a bunch. So, Jason, let's start with you on that one.
Yeah, well, in my other podcast that is actually going to relaunch very soon, we talk about, we have mentioned several times how we have, as late 40 and 50-year-old men, aged out of what is cool, and we admit that freely because it's true. We have aged out of what is cool, what is current, what is what the kids are listening to, and all that. So
get off my lawn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we won't do the get off the lawn. We will accept it gracefully because our music is still there and we can always access it. So it's not like it isn't there. But in some ways, because of my frame of reference, my expertise in musical knowledge is quite honestly what I know. Now we are trying to expand into what we don't know, and understand that trends in video game music, for instance, are huge. That's a huge place where new musicians are finding ways to make money and be creative in video games. And then as you said, everybody's got a home studio. You could whip up your own music easily now. The talent has to go with it, and that's not always the case. But because, again, with anything where DIY becomes so easy, you get that giant sea of white noise that your creative project as an author or as a musician has to rise above. You have to get out of that sea if you're going to be noticed. And it's much, much harder with so many people doing it so easily, and has been for several years now. So where is music going? It's going to go into huge quantities in markets that you don't expect, digital markets, to make money. Certainly not the old way with selling albums. I mean, that's dead. That's been dead for a while. If they ever kind of fix the way that artists get paid through things like iTunes and stuff like that, then it might be okay. But mostly, a lot of people are getting away from that and going to, here's my website, buy my music directly from my website, and then I make 100% of the money.
Yeah.
So that's where we've been going for a while, and where we're still going, I think.
Blythe, what about you?
I think that music's very similar to the whole book argument earlier. I think the way of a physical item or physical something in your hands is definitely going out the door. And like you said, it's all it's all digital. It's too easy to do anything that you can think of.
Mhm.
And like PB said, the talent is someone who may be talented to somebody may not have that same kind of feeling for another person. But that's the whole thing about our world right now, is that it doesn't matter what you're into, who you are, what you like, you can find something for you
Mhm.
anywhere. And I think that that's just the expansion of just how our society is, and in things like books, writing, music, all those things are just going to keep following that trend.
Nice. Courtney?
Yeah.
Was it all said?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm one of those people that likes vinyl. I don't think, in terms of music and in terms of books, I don't think it's ever the physical is never going to be completely replaced. I know, Blige, you think that that's the case, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Maybe not in our lifetime, maybe later on. But I think people are still going to want that tangible thing. But what makes it nice is there is the capability to have the non-tangible and
Mhm.
still be able to enjoy what you enjoy.
One other thing I want to throw in there about the music before we move on is I think that there's going to be a resurgence, like the vinyl, with the records, with the artwork, and all the liner notes that me and Jason know it anyway. Courtney does too a little bit. We used to look through all that stuff as we were listening to albums and all that. I think there's going to be a resurgence of that, only in a digital form. I think that it's going to take up your whole screen, and they're going to have to start getting real creative with it. I think that's where the next step.
I don't know, man. That has a lot to do with attention span. And I can tell you right now, this isn't like a shot, like in a generalization kind of way, but the attention span of the younger bunch does not match the attention span of
That
us.
doesn't mean you can't recreate it.
Well, here's
Maybe
the
him.
thing. That's part of the reason that TV shows do not have 24 episodes
Sure.
anymore.
Mhm.
People don't have, and it's not
Stop
a
rewarding
generational
it.
thing. It's not a generational thing. It's a human being thing. People have shorter attention.
And let me say honestly, I'm going to say Blige is the exception, because Blige has a you're of the age that you're at, but you have a level of concentration that would automatically make me think you were older than you were.
What?
Not you.
That-
You're like 6 in my mind.
Internally,
but-
he is.
Yeah, but no,
I'm okay with
Blige does not fit typical millennial in my opinion.
Fair enough. No, honestly, when we say millennial, we think of the stereotype, and that's not fair. People are like that, but I don't think it's the majority. I think it's some that are just very loud about it.
I actually
Could be.
just read something the other day that was pretty funny about millennials, and it said, like, quit blaming millennials for everything. We have families. We're paying off our student loan debt. We don't have time to do all the things that you guys are telling us that we're doing, because we're middle-aged at this point. We don't have time to care about any of that stuff.
Well, and
So that was pretty funny.
once people grow up, every generation is basically the same.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, every generation is the same. You were the villain at some point. Okay, so let's talk about the last thing, which actually has a lot to do with millennials. The future of like the whole digital, as far as entertainment, like podcasts, YouTube shows. What's next? Are we just gonna? I mean, it can't stick with this, but I think that what we're doing is pretty cool. I think there's a lot of people that are doing it, and you see a lot of people that aren't good at it, and that's kind of what clogs the market, I think.
There's always that, though.
I think there's a lot. Because there is no gatekeeper. It's great because people can learn how to do it, but at the same time, you see a lot of people that really aren't good at it. Gives a bad name for everybody. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a future in this? Do you think it's going to die? Is this going to eventually be terrestrial radio?
I honestly think that Ernest Cline was kind of a prophet, because I honestly do think that there will be something that absolutely is almost exactly like the Oasis. I don't know how long it's going to take, But that the Oasis is something that will be a real thing, maybe in my lifetime, probably in Bly's lifetime. And that's where you are going to find eventually everything. You are going to eventually find all of your art, be it new or classic, in this virtual place where it will all exist, where you can interact in ways like they do in Ready Player One. I mean, no doubt about it. I see that as an absolute reality within 50 years.
Fair enough. Courtney, what do you think?
I don't think podcasts or anything like this are going to go away anytime soon because this is literally just the grandchild of the old radio serials.
We should spend our time talking like this when we do them.
That's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything will evolve and change, of course.
Mhm.
And there'll be different ways that it'll be sent to people. But it's not go anywhere. I mean, like I said, these are the old radio plays from the 40s, 20s and 40s before TV, and people are still, and I mean, especially right now, there's a resurgence in how much people are consuming podcasts too. Because one thing we haven't talked about this whole time in either of these two shows, and that's kind of important, is there is no live theater you can go to right now.
Mhm.
And we don't know
Sadly,
when
no.
that's going to happen. So we're getting people who enjoy live theater are getting it through other means of content. YouTube has been streaming. A lot of the theaters all over the globe have been streaming shows. You know, for like a limited time. Here's a show we filmed. Here's some Shakespeare. Here's
Courtney,
Tennessee Williams.
Courtney,
that
help
kind
me
of
out.
stuff.
Help me out with this, Courtney. My wife told me about this, and you probably know more about it than I do. So I'm going to paraphrase. But is it the Library of Congress that has copies of the Broadway shows?
No,
Some government
it's-
entity. What's the government?
The Actors Guild has it.
Okay, but there's a
the-
government entity that has it too. Have you heard?
Well, the Lincoln Center has theirs. I mean, they film every Broadway show that has ever happened, and then they put it into a library. If they
Okay, and
released
that
that,
library-
everybody was that's controlled by not
the
by a
government.
government. No, it's not controlled by a government. It's controlled by an arts organization.
Like the Broadway Academy or something like that?
The theater wing controls it all.
Okay.
It's all an archive type thing, and so
Okay.
that's how some of these have been being able to be shown, because they're pulling them out of the archive for
Yeah.
people to enjoy.
I think that right before live theater returns, because it will, and I think right before live stuff returns, I bet they'll release a few more of those to regenerate the excitement to help that get. I mean, people are going to be excited anyway, but that I think will help boost it even further.
Yeah, and when theater does return, I think it's going to be the same thing that we talked about with movies. There are going to be smaller shows, less spectacles like Wicked and Phantom. It's going to be smaller stuff for a while.
And I want to hear Satomi's take on some of this stuff. And Sean,
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear it because she's got her ear to the ground more because that's her industry.
Well, that's her career.
That's her job.
Right.
You know, I see it from what I read and from because the directors union, because I'm part of the directors union for stage directing. They send stuff out periodically. We watch, but it's like we're going to see smaller shows, and community theater is going to take a huge hit because our money makers are big shows.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to do it because we're not going to be able to have musicians on stage.
Yeah, the whole point is
It'll
to
be
sell as
interesting.
many tickets as you possibly can.
So that we can put on more shows next time.
Right.
So yeah.
That
So,
business
but
model's
there's
not the
that.
best anymore.
Blythe, close us up on this. Where do you think it's going?
So I think it's a combination of both what PV and Courtney said. It's just I want it to be the Oasis. Like, I think that solves. I know a lot of people are scared of the idea and they don't like the idea of like living in a virtual world, but that gives you so much opportunity to do extraordinary things even to the point of putting on a play. If you could copy a person's physical self and put them into a digital setting, you could run an entire stage production and put on a spectacle play for millions to see. Not just a few hundred or a few thousand in a big stadium, but the amount of people that you could fit into that type of scenario would be endless.
At the front seat.
Yeah, exactly. You could, every single person would have a front row seat to their favorite actor, director's play being put on, but at still having the sensation of being in a crowd. And I think that I would love to see something like that happen. But who's to say? Like I said, a lot of the world is scared of things like that. So there's definitely going to be pushback when things like that get developed and made. But I think eventually we'll get to I know it seems like a lot right now and far off right now, but I think we will eventually get to a place of normalcy in the world. Things will start to go back to the way that they were, and it may be what we consider to be a long amount of time. But even if it's 2-3 years from now, if things were to just go back to the way that they were, then it's just how it is. So I think that if we all just band together and do what we got to do, then we'll all be fine. And our content and the things that we love are always going to be there, regardless of where they come from. It's just a shifting of platform. That really is the future of everything. It's just whatever content, whatever you love, it's just what's the platform that you're going to get it on now. Because it was the 8-track or the record to 8-track to cassette to CD to digital media. What's that next platform that everybody's going to be wanting in the most efficient way to get it to people?
Outstanding. And that's a show, kids. Sorry, time's up. So everyone's making some great points, and this has been a very fun 2-week conversation. Watch all the way to the end. You can find all of our information on where to get a hold of us, and I think the Patreon's even up on the ending.
Well, it will be. It will be.
It will be. Okay, Blythe.
It is up.
That's
yeah.
on the page. Yep. Will be. Okay, so until next time, I'm Dub.
I'm Miss Geeky Paige.
I'm Blythe.
I'm PB and Jason.
Keep on geeking on, kids. We miss you. We love you.
Keep on geeking on, rock stars.
Keep on geeking on.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.